everybody, welcome. We're going to be spending most of our time together this week talking to the candidates for Mayor of Tampa. All have agreed to appear with us on Your Turn. And we start today with Rose Ferlita. Ms. Ferlita has served on the City Council, County Commission, countless boards and organizations. She's also a registered pharmacist. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Russ.
As always, good to have you. Just to be fair here, we're going to be posing some of the same questions to all of the candidates, some of the big issue questions, and then a little bit later we'll get personal about some things that are near and dear to you.
Please get personal.
The big story, it's the thing that still everybody is talking about is high-speed rail and the governor's decision last week to not take the federal funds. Was that a mistake?
Well, you know, we stood up in solidarity to say we were disappointed because obviously it's going to represent jobs for our community and those of surrounding communities. But, you know, he did his analysis, and like I said the other day, we have to respect the office of the governor, regardless of whether or not we would agree with what he did. One component that we have not talked enough about was whether or not the consideration of a private entity coming in and offsetting some of the expenses that citizens would otherwise pay. And we'll talk about this a little bit, or I can tell you about it now. I just got a notice from Pam Iorio, and she's going to have a little a press conference this afternoon at 4 o'clock, meet with me and some of the other candidates to let us know that her city attorney, Chip Fletcher, is working with some people that are organizing an interlocal agreement that will be able, perhaps, these are all just plans, right, they're not formalized, that would be able to accept those dollars and eliminate some of the risk, the financial risk to the state. That would sound to me like there's a privatization component in it where that makes me very, very happy because it's a different world now, Russell. It should always be partners, 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 public, private. So I'm curious to see what happens this afternoon, but that could be a good thing.
So what we're saying then is the possibility, I'm just throwing this out there, sure, Rose, because I want to make certain I understand, like one of these companies that might have put in a bid, say a Siemens or something like that, would you and say, are you willing to do this, this, and this so that there's no risk to Florida voters, Florida taxpayers for
right,
what
because it's a catch-22 for our citizens. Everybody wants more jobs and we want to grow the economy. But at the same time, Rose, can we accept more debt? Can we do that? So this would be the best of both worlds. We end up looking at high-speed rail, but at the same time, you have a private entity that will take the risk, take care of accepting that portion of the contract, and commit to being responsible for the overruns.
One of the polls I read recently about what voters are concerned about, transportation is one of them. But not just high-speed rail. I'm talking about transportation within the city of Tampa, within Hillsborough County. I mean, improving our roads, improving our bus system, and also an issue of light rail as well. I mean, it is an issue. I mean, if the high-speed rail does happen, if it does end up in downtown Tampa, what happens next? Okay,
so that's where I focused the other day. If it does, and that'll be wonderful, especially if some of these details can be fixed. But there are a bunch of cheerleaders around that said, oh, we should support the referendum last November 2nd. Right. There were only 7 people in this county that took their political risks at saying yay or nay. I was one of the 5 that said, please put it out there for the voters to decide. But I was very leery because of some of the construction around it. And transcripts don't lie, and me saying stuff on camera can't be changed. I said we have to have more detail. We have to have more transparency. You know what we have to do? If we're partnering with our citizens, make sure that they're at the table to tell us what they want. Sunset, in perpetuity, what's going on? My tenure on County Commission ended November 15th. The election was November 2nd. I said, before we get to that November 2nd election, let's tell the citizens where we think this alignment is going to be. It was pretty easy, downtown to USF or downtown to the airport. The response to me was, no, we're going to discuss that at the Heart meeting on November 15th. Now, you're a smart guy. If I come to you and say, okay, look, Russell, this is a contract. I want you to sign it so that you're responsible to pay for this. We haven't worked out the details. I'm going to fill that in next week. But trust me, you wonder why people don't trust government? We should have been up front and center telling them what we did. Now, my position now is much the same. Let's bring it back. Not at a deadline. Somebody says, well, will you do it exactly on 2012? If it's ready, but I don't want to risk it being done inappropriately, done wrong, lose again, when we need to maybe recraft our agreement with the citizens. Let's look at that. Let's keep what people liked. Let's look again at what people didn't like. In the city, we accepted it. It passed because the light rail, guess what, is in Tampa. So we benefit. But unincorporated said no. And if you go a little bit further than that, there has to be something in it for everybody who's going to benefit or who's going to have disadvantages because of it. Regional, we need, again, partners, partnership with regional. We need to do it again. I've always been supportive, but it wasn't done to my liking and obviously to some of the voters' liking.
We're not going to be able to cover all of this in the minute or so we have left.
Faster.
But no, don't, because it's all good. I want to talk. So the other big issue I want to ask you about is the economy, jobs, getting this city, getting this county, get everything back on track, and getting people employed again. Unemployment's way too high right now.
Right. Get out of the business of red tape, first of all. I've been in business forever. 22 years as a small business owner, 18 in the corporate world. I know about business. This is a business that we need to turn around. We have to make sure we offer inducements, incentives to businesses that want to relocate. We're competing. We're going to compete. We're very well under my watch. Give them incentives like real estate property abatement. But don't stop short. My logo again says for all of Tampa. So come back to the businesses that are supporting us now. Give them the same incentives. Also, look at the neighborhoods. They're going to be key for all of Tampa. They need to be part of the table discussion as well. Let's give them the same type of incentives or abatements like we give now. For historic preservation renovation, there are big tax responsibilities that are eliminated because we're going to give them those bonuses. Let's do the same thing, you know what, to the plain old family who want to enlarge their house because maybe their family has grown, and let's make sure that we relax those responsibilities as well. So that's what we have to do.
Okay, thanks. We're going to leave it right there. We have a few more minutes with Rose Ferlita right after the break. Welcome back. Talking with Rose Ferlita today, candidate for Mayor of Tampa. Election is a week from tomorrow. Right?
Yes, it is.
We have an email from Julie, and I know this is in a lot of ways your area of expertise because you're a pharmacist. I would like to ask Ms. Ferlita what her stance is on Governor Scott squashing the PDMP bill, which would, and if we have her support on continuing to close down Tampa pill mills. Let's give some background on this. There's been this ongoing effort at the state level and at the local level, at the county level, to try and do something about these illegal pain clinics that have been running rampant. And there was a plan in place, and the governor's not approving of it, and has and as she said, squashed it. Where you go? What's your thought on this?
They always call some questions softballs. This is a softball for me. I mean, Russell, I was so disappointed. For the viewers that don't know, PDMP is Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, and that has been worked for years through the legislative process to get it approved. Finally, this last time, we thought we had a victory. It was passed. I was one of the presenters in conjunction with the Office of Drug Control and in the former governor's office to get this thing done without any kind of a dollar type expense to our taxpayers. Legislators said, okay, we're going to pass the money. So they did. They were looking through grants. They were looking at manufacturers that were willing to do this because they thought it was a good thing. It is very, very disheartening that that happened. The whole budget for that Office of Drug Control is $500,000. And I don't think our citizens know what a real huge public safety issue this is. 7, 8, 9 people a day dying in the state of Florida because our next generation, the youth predominantly, die from overdoses of legal drugs. It was disheartening to law enforcement, to pharmacists, to doctors, to task force, volunteers that have worked endlessly to get this done. No, it wasn't the total fix, but boy, it was going in the right direction. And when he closed that down, 2 things. I think he was looking at the Department of Health to take it over. They can't, Russell. They can't handle what they're doing now because of lack of funding, lack of staffing. Thank God for Pam Bondi, because what she did is what every good legislator should do when it's for the sake of our citizens. She reached over party lines and grabbed Ehrenberg to come in and do something about it. That's a step in the right direction. I have had conversation with her. I understand that Ehrenberg is going to be in contact with me because as the mayor of the city, I'm going to redirect some of our law enforcement. We can't add, so let me not say things that are just political rhetoric. It isn't going to happen. But my commitment is, because this is such a huge issue, I will redirect some of our law enforcement to deal exclusively with that. They can't handle it now. Imagine without the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. And part of this can...
Oh, you're to talk about your vision you want, where you want to go affected there. I mentioned your red force you own for a time.
Sure.
I mean, you bring grew up here, Ybor City, right? Ferlita Bakery, all of that. I mean, bring all that together for me now. Talk vision is.
It's kind of vision why this. You're right. I was born in a family, goes 3 generations back with the bakery. We had tough times. Things were tough then. Things, I think, now are tougher. So that's the right time for you to let your citizens, let your fellow neighbors know what you've got. Look, My background is so broad spectrum. I started, unlike some of the other candidates, as a community servant, as a civic association president, as a pharmacy that was taking care of the needs of a neighborhood, as a city council member, as county commissioner. I mean, there are many aspects in which I know what we need. Tampa is a city that can absolutely compete with the rest of the cities in the world because we've got that fiber of diversity. Let's not use that as a point of contention in terms of diversity. Let's use that as a marketing tool. Nobody else is going to be equipped to do that. I have been here, I understand it, and in the last 12 years, unlike some of the others, except Mr. Scott, I have been here front and center as a city council member, as a county commissioner, so I know the current issues. I've got those partnerships in mind. I can bring and hold what county commission does better. I can bring back what I think the city is doing better. So my vision and my focus is, I know the details. I know the specifics of what we've got to do. I've got a plan. It's in my bold building blocks. And you know what? In 4 years, I want people to say, you know what? Rose was and is the real deal. It wasn't campaign rhetoric. It was a commitment, and her integrity made her stick to it, and she did. And then we go for another 4 together, partnerships. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you. Good to have you
I
here.
enjoyed this.
It was fun. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to Rose Ferlita. Thanks to all of you for watching today, sharing your opinions. Tomorrow on Your Turn, another candidate for mayor, Ed Taranchik. The candidates all week on Your Turn, so it's going to be fun. We're going to learn some things about them we didn't know. Now, a final check of the forecast.